So the dust has settled after Iraola's appointment at AFC Bournemouth. It's been a mad week over the last 7 days, but here on Back of the Net, we're here to talk it over because there's been lots of reaction since, more media sound bites that have come out, and of course we want to express our opinions too. My name's Sam Davis.
My name's Tom Jordan.
If you're brand new to the channel, there's a couple of things you can do, not least there's a little button involving a bodily part, Tom.
Yes, there is. It's a thumb, and it means you like the video because you like it, and then it gets out to more people. And click subscribe while you're there as well. We'd really appreciate it.
Now, firstly, on Talksport this morning, Bill Foley came on and he underlined to Jim White, Simon Jordan, etc. why he made the decision. Now, there have been so many sound bites from many different people. Gary Lineker called it ludicrous. The word scandalous was used. As I said in my video recently, Darren Huckabee called it a piss take. The wider media world, they don't really understand the mindset of the AFC Bournemouth fan, and perhaps they don't understand the intricacies of this club itself. They're so top six, aren't they?
Yeah, they are a little bit. I think it's. I think mainly it's down to the fact that they just all think what Gary O'Neill done was like they've said, a miracle. So yeah, and I get that sense. I always get the sense if I knew that people would be like, oh, Gary deserved the start of next season, etc., etc. But I think what they're not getting, and maybe this interview with Bill will provide a bit more knowledge about that, is that, yeah, it's nothing against Gary, but we're trying to progress, we're trying to be ambitious, and why can't little old Bournemouth be ambitious? Because Brentford have been, Brighton have been, why can't we? And that's nothing against Gary, but, there's someone available who people are really excited about, so we're going to grasp it, because otherwise we could have a bad few months and we think, oh, he's not available now, and then we end up just getting someone like other clubs do with Big Sam or Roy Hodgson, which, is not a route we want to go down. We want to look long term. So I'm excited about it. And I think this interview, which we'll get into, I reckon will do everyone kind of the world of good and going, okay, I get it a little bit more now, because I thought he was very measured.
Now, last week on Back of the Net, Tom Jordan asked Mark McAdam this.
Do you think that, we were talking about it, I don't know what you think, Mark, do you think it's more that Iraola's become available and they've decided we want this guy, we want this direction, rather than it being like, oh, not sure about Gary, let's look for someone else? Because I feel like it's more that this guy's become available, so they've wanted to go for it, and Gary's unfortunately ended up losing his job because of that, rather than us not believing in Gary. Do you think that's fair?
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think that's the very wise thing that you said there, and I think it's very accurate. I don't think this was we don't like Gary O'Neill, he's doing a bad job. This is we think there is someone out there that we can get that would be brilliant for this football club.
Now, Tom, can we just replay that 5-second clip that I think you're going to be probably use quite a lot?
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think that's the very wise thing that you said there, and I think it's very accurate.
A very wise man.
Yeah.
Very wise man, Tom.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Mark, and obviously spoke to him off air and said, just big me up a little bit. But no, it was, that was nice of him,
And that's what Foley seemed to underline in his interview on Talksport, because he said it really wasn't so much about Gary not doing what he was asked to do. It's more about a particular opportunity to give our football club a different identity. So it's no bad slant on Gary O'Neill whatsoever. It's just that we wanted to try something new, and it was right place, right time for the availability of this manager, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what people are forgetting as well is a lot of the time when new owners come in, people go, oh, they've got their man they want and all this stuff, and Gary, they're going, oh, maybe Gary wasn't his man. Gary was appointed when the new owners were here, and I think Bill kind of said at that moment in time, we felt that Gary was the right man to just steer us clear of relegation, and the boys were behind him, and he was getting a few positive results as interim manager, and obviously it ended up paying off. There were some sticky patches, of course, but we managed to get over the line. But they're thinking long term, which I like. They're thinking long term, and someone's available that they think will take us in a better direction. I think what people will forget is that Gary's been given this opportunity by these guys, and his stock's now higher. He was never a football manager, a head coach, and now he's going to be looked at as a head coach for other jobs, and he's going to be paid off handsomely. So I think, in hindsight, I think in the end, Gary will probably think, got an opportunity. Yeah, a little bit disappointed I didn't get the chance to maybe, take us on into next season, but I'm really pleased with the opportunity because that's now got me on the managerial ladder. So I think it's good for all parties, hopefully, long term.
We respect Gary, we respect his feelings, and it wasn't an easy decision, he said. We just felt that if we were going to be successful, as we believe we can be in this transfer market, and we're going to change the style of football we play, we needed to go in a different direction. He underlined the fact that I'm not happy about it. I don't feel good about having someone move on from a position within the club, but it was team first. And that's one thing he said. It's team first, personnel second, and then management, including themselves, third. So it's clear this is a decision that he's made to benefit the team, not just one individual person.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's kind of gone into the targets that we've got and the players I guess we already have at the club, and thinking about the team and on the pitch and thinking about the style, and maybe deciding that he doesn't feel that Gary and his style potentially will get the best out of the new players we're trying to bring in and the players we've already got. And obviously that Iraola is the man to do that. But yeah, that was interesting. He's obviously going to put the team first. And I think, people forget that, he wants to be successful. So he's not just going to get rid of someone because he feels like it. He's going to do it because he thinks it will benefit us. So it was interesting though, and like I say, he come across really well.
There's a lot of people that have said, look, Bournemouth will have egg on their faces if they get relegated next season. And Foley agreed with it somewhat, and he said, if we get relegated next year because we made a mistake, then I'll live with it. That's reality. But I believe that we're going to be successful with Andoni. I really do. He underlined also the fact that Hughes and Blake, not referencing their names, but have been chatting to him for a long time, informally, and it seemed to be, Tom, right place, right time, because we gather that Leeds were flirting with this manager about 4 months ago, but thankfully it just worked for AFC Bournemouth. And to be fair, I was thinking about it, the transition from Vallecano to AFC Bournemouth is probably more of a natural one for him. It's a small club, they're a team that have probably overachieved. But also, not least that, I think with the players that he's got, he'll have probably more resources than he would care to mention. But there's not the expectation necessarily at Dean Court. Whereas if he joined a Leeds United, the pressure's there straight away.
Yeah, potentially. And as you say, it's probably an easier transition for him. I think there's similarities in De Zerbi. When he went to Brighton, it felt like a natural kind of fit, and it does seem that way. He's gone into a club that obviously got relegated, and he had to bring them back up, and then he got them 11th, which doesn't sound unbelievable, but they were very, very close to Europe. They caused a lot of shocks in that league in terms of beating Barcelona, Real Madrid, and the budget was small. I think most of the players that won them games had played with him in the lower league, and weren't a whole vast sum of money. So there's certainly similarities in that sense, which will probably help us, and like I say, because other clubs were looking at him, that obviously bodes well because it means he's highly thought of. But I think it's exciting that he chose us, and going back to kind of how Gary's been a little bit, it's probably a bit harsh on Gary in the sense that it just fell into our lap that he was out of contract and decided not to renew. Because if he had decided to stay at Rayo Vallecano, Gary O'Neill's probably still the manager. That's what I think Bill was getting at. The guy that we wanted became available, and we've got to act, and that's what we did.
So then, why has Foley picked Iraola then? Why? What's he going to bring? What's he going to bring that's different to Gary O'Neill?
Quite a good-looking man, isn't he?
He is a good-looking man. We're going to break it down for you, and we've got a number of different bits and pieces, tactical insight as well. He oversaw the most high-pressing side in La Liga last season. Iraola only paid transfer fees for 6 players over 3 years at Vallecano, averaging 2 million. So he's a manager that's experienced working with tight budgets. So it's fair to say that Bournemouth, over the years, we have had tight budgets, but now we can slightly loosen our belt, can't we? And splash the cash and get the resources where we need to. Now, one of the things that obviously we know about is that they beat Barcelona 3 times. By the way, they drew the other game. They also beat Real Madrid. One of the interesting points is 8 of the 11 members of the team that were in the side that beat Real actually played for Vallecano in the Segunda Division. Echoes of old AFC Bournemouth, eh?
Yeah, we won't mention his name because we do it too often. But
how many times do we do that?
Yeah, well played. I think that it is interesting. I mean, a lot of people would say, well, that tight budget kind of side of it is not us now because we can spend a bit more freely. But you've got to remember FFP, and that we are still going to be limited because at this moment in time we haven't got the infrastructure, and the financial fair play does limit us a little bit, so that's helpful. But yeah, I also think that in this current day, I mean, transfer fees are absolutely crazy, aren't they? And you've only got to look at our first one. You get the first guy we've brought in, obviously Justin Kluivert, who's highly rated but hasn't maybe lived up to his expectations yet. 9.5 million is an absolute bargain this day, and it just is. So we've already kind of maybe snapped up someone that he thinks he can work with and develop. I like managers that can do that and maybe, get a player to their maximum. So yeah, that's exciting. And like you say, again, mate, it's something that probably aligns with us, and Vallecano do feel like a similarity, don't they? It does feel like there's a bit of a parallel there within the two clubs.
He did say that maybe a few of our signings, a bit of our transfer activity over the summer may surprise a number of people that are looking at little old AFC Bournemouth. So it sounds like there could be some names coming in. We're going to go over in a different video later in the week some of the people that we've been linked with, and also where we think that we might want to strengthen in terms of personnel that's going to help Iraola's style. And look, he's got stylistic similarities with Bielsa. Of course, we know that he worked with him for a number of times. Also, Patrick Vieira as well, who Bournemouth have flirted with before. Attacking in transitions quickly, a high block forcing teams into errors, and also recently his teams won more position over the course of the season in the final third than any other team on the continent in the top 5 leagues. Speedy transition play as well, and like you say, as a manager, he's got a team that's gone from 12th to 11th. They've upset teams on the way. He's won trophies as well. He's a methodical manager, pragmatic and opportunistic. 4-2-3-1, Tom.
Yeah, that seems to be his favoured kind of system, doesn't it? I mean, like with a lot of modern coaches these days, that's very flexible, and he seems like he, as you kind of alluded to, likes to press high up the pitch and win the ball back quickly. He's not afraid to go a little bit more direct if he has to get kind of press and nick the ball back in them areas, and not maybe just put yourselves under pressure by overly playing out from the back, etc. So yeah, and I think another thing that's really important is we've just got Kluivert in, obviously after Iraola come in, but we've obviously now the targets, we know that they're going to be players that we think will suit the style.
Exactly.
We haven't, if we had suddenly not got our Iraola for a few weeks, we might have brought in players and gone, but they might not suit him now. It seems to we've done it in the right kind of way, which is good, and that'll be interesting now because the players we're bringing in, that'll obviously be with a thought of what his style is. And I think Bill, because even though Bill Foley said all the right things, and owner doesn't normally talk about the style as much, but he's obviously alluded to it because he thinks that maybe the players we've got now and the players we're going to bring in, they need to suit a certain style which Iraola's going to bring. So that's going to be really intriguing to see what sort of players we bring in, and that will make me think, okay, is he going to go with this 4-2-3-1? Is he going to want our wingers to do this, our fullbacks to do this, etc.?
Well, that's the thing with the personnel. We've got another video coming out in the week, but I'm just like early days. I'm thinking 4-2-3-1. So the emphasis with his style is on fullbacks that bomb on, and with the wingers playing like in towards the middle somewhat. There's overloads that can happen, which means that we need good crosses of the ball, fullbacks with the energy to get up and down the pitch. Now, arguably, we've seen Matthias Vigna do that. On the other side, that's if Matthias Vigna comes in, of course. On the other side, Adam Smith, who's not maybe done that as much. So I think there will be some new personnel that are needed. But what that kind of style is going to do is going to help to open up a low block. Crosses really will be essential. And long balls also is another way. Like Tom said, it's not necessarily this kind of overly laborious style, that kind of horseshoe shape of football. Sometimes they'll play a long ball into, say, Dom Solanke. So a lot of emphasis is on the main striker, but also the player behind him, the number 10, can be really flexible with it. But it is opportunistic. It's taking our moments when we can and smelling blood. And also with that, one of the two central midfielders as well will be invited to bomb on as well. So I'm really excited to see this style of play, mate. I really am.
Yeah, it's definitely something to get behind, isn't it? And something that you can, it's not going to just happen like that. But it's something that you think, if you could see, it sounds like he's someone that's got a philosophy, got a style. And I think that was always question mark sometimes, because I think results, you can't guarantee results in football, especially, being Bournemouth in the league that we're in with some top sides and top players. But if you could see a style of play and you could see what you're trying to do, we can even go back to Scott Parker, man. The amount of times I was bored, stiff, but I thought, okay, at least I can see what he's trying to do. It was pragmatic, but you knew that there was a style, so to speak. And I think that's what we lacked a little bit. But equally, you could say, well, maybe we didn't have time to develop a style because we just needed to stay up. But I think that'll be something to get behind, and I'll be really interested to see how we adapt that, because there's certain players you kind of mentioned there with kind of, say, the fullback positions, and at the moment on that right side we've only got Smith and Fredericks, who I think instantly you'd think they wouldn't be able to do that. They're aging a little bit, maybe losing their legs somewhat. But equally, I kind of look at it and go, but particularly Smith, was he told to play a certain way because of the gaffer? We don't know, do we? So that'll be really interesting to see how certain players that we thought could only play a certain way maybe change their role. Rothwell, for example, he was kind of brought in to be a little bit more cagey. Will he be used a little bit more to bomb on like he was at Blackburn?
Yeah.
All will be seen in time, but as you said, mate, I think it's exciting and something that will be fun to watch anyway. Rock and roll football, mate.
Rock and roll football. So what about when the other teams have the ball then? Well, defensively, what he tends to do is style is that the wingers drop back, meaning the forwards, will stay up there and can press a little bit, but what it does is alleviate the pressure on the two centre midfielders doing the job. So you've effectively got a sort of 4-4-1-1, and he encourages his midfielders to win the ball back, so it's more of a mid-block than a low block.
Yeah.
So the midfielders are absolutely key, and that's another position that we'll be looking to fill. I'm absolutely certain. We'll talk about that on the next video. And when regaining possession, Dom's role is going to be absolutely crucial in terms of running into the channel. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see how it goes. The talk from the media, Tom, has finally, I think, got to grips with the fact that, Bournemouth have got a plan and fair play to them.
Yeah.
Because previously it was very condescending, stay in your lane sort of mentality. Yeah. Graham Souness, even Stuart Pearce as well, thought it was very odd on the prelude to the interview that was on Talksport this morning. So yeah, I think they finally realised, and this interview seems to have conveyed that very well.
Yeah, I think there was, don't get me wrong, I think what we've heard as a fan base from Bill so far has all been pretty good. So I wasn't overly concerned, but you never know. Sometimes you think, like he did with the relegation thing, which obviously worked out. You think, is he going to say something a little bit too outlandish and maybe make us look a little bit silly? But what he did was very measured, as I say, but equally positive and exciting. But Stuart Pearce, Simon Jordan and Jim White, I think they could all see, actually, he's kind of saying the right things here. And I think Stuart Pearce said in there that if you're a Bournemouth fan, he's ticking every box in what he's saying, because he's not just... He's also talking about infrastructure. He's talking about fit, and he even said in their new stadium, about 20,000. We know what we are. We're not going. And this is all things that we've all been saying for a long time. And I think it showed his humility and as a person, kind of saying, he said without saying it that it's not easy to get rid of Gary O'Neill. I like Gary O'Neill. He's done a really good job for me by keeping us in the Premier League. But he almost said, I can't be too emotional because I've got business decisions to make. And that's kind of exactly what Simon Jordan always says when he talks from an owner perspective. 100%. So, yeah, for a Bournemouth fan, mate, it's kind of, he's done everything that you'd want him to say, really. So yeah, really exciting. And obviously, we'll have to see. The proof will be in the pudding, a little phrase that I like to use. But it will be, because at the end of the day, if we don't get results on the pitch, that's how he'll be looked at. But from what you want to hear from your owner of your football club, it's bang on the money. One
of the things that he did want to emphasise is that he's not one of these owners that wants to come in and just fire every manager going, Watford. However, he just wanted to make this one decision, and they'll stick by their man because they know that he's got a philosophy. One thing he did say about O'Neill, by the way, it wasn't just my decision. It was a decision made by the analytical staff and by football management in terms of the football club. We all separately, after thinking about it, we all came to the same conclusions. It really was a unanimous decision amongst us all. I think that's the best way I can describe it. And like I just said, I don't want to be viewed as one of these owners that comes in and fires and then fires them again. That's not the plan. My plan is to go with this coach, give him every opportunity to be successful. If it means at the end of the year, as I said earlier, we're relegated because we made a mistake, I'll live with it. That is the reality, mate. It's so exciting. Yeah. And it all starts in July, not long away. So talk me through some of these. I know we've got Weymouth, haven't we? We've got Weymouth in a friendly.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like kind of our more youngsters kind of playing in that one.
Yeah, but there's a Poole Town match. Yeah, that's right. Marbella against, who is it?
We've got Maccabi Tel Aviv, who I believe they've just appointed Robbie Keane as manager, which is a strange one, and Hibernian in that. I think that's going to be his first one.
So no matches against any like rivals or anything like
No, we've got no rivals. We are going to be playing Southampton at some point, because I do think this. I think sometimes it's nice to kind of travel to a team in the lower league and kind of go there and go is some money, money in buckets kind of feeling to it, and kind of give them a game with Premier League players. But as I say, no rival matches at all.
How did they preview the game when they put the tickets up for sale on the website?
Well, they've got Reading just before, and then they said a few days later we'll be welcoming our South Coast rivals. Which is weird, actually. They did say South Coast rivals. I don't know why. I think they're getting a little bit confused. But nice to obviously take our boys down there and because they're going to miss that, them kind of Premier League players.
Yeah.
We might take the backup side, I'm not sure. And then obviously we've got, is it Atalanta and Lorient? 2 home games kind of back to back, which would be really fun to see, I think, to see them at home and see that style. I think it'll be, even for a friendly, I think there'll be quite a good feeling amongst the place, to get ready to start the season. And then obviously, I'm glad now when something like this happens, you've got the first game at home, get behind it, and then we'll forget about Anfield, and then we get another home game and get it bouncing in there. But yeah, it's, as you say, mate, it's all really, really encouraging. I just want to dip into, I like the fact that, our owners sometimes can go, this is the man I think will take us forward. He's quite openly gone, I spoke to the football staff. We've got people, this isn't my job, I don't know. He hasn't come in and acted like he knows it. He knows that he's not, he's not going to pick all the foot. He's got people to do that for him. And he's going to, look at what the footballing people at the football club believe is the right way to go tactically and all that sort of stuff. So I like his kind of honesty there and openness. So
and it's an exciting plan. He's talked about the training facility, as you mentioned as well. The fact that he wants the first team to move into it by the fall of 2024, and then that opens up conversations about the stadium. And he said, I'm excited about it. I'm a builder. I like to create things. So Bill Foley, honestly, all vibes are good at the moment. So those are the tactical reasons why AFC Bournemouth and Bill Foley chose Andoni Iraola. Stay tuned to Back of the Net, because coming up in the next video, we're going to have a look at the current squad. We're going to look at the players we've got, who we might want to let go, and where we might need to strengthen. Until then, I've been Sam Davis.
I've been Tom Jordan.
Make sure you subscribe, eh? Up the cherries.
Up the chairs. And they said Bob the Builder, but it's Bill, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think that's the very wise thing that you've said there, and I think it's very accurate.
Bill the Builder.